The NCAA has new criteria for judging who's getting in the tournament come March. It's broken down into 4 quadrants, and the 4 quadrants are broken down into 3 sections each, and they're all basically broke down home, neutral, and away, giving more emphasis on neutral games and obviously more emphasis than that on away games, and it's all broken down in these quadrants by the RPI. So, like, as right now, we are, like last night, I said it was a quadrant 2 win. That could change at any point, depending on Boston College's RPI. So when you get a win like that, you hope, like Buffalo. Buffalo is we're 1-3 in quadrant 1, and Buffalo is our 1 win in quadrant 1. If their RPI falls out of that demographic, that was a home game. So that's 1-30 RPI. If they fall out of that, that goes away and becomes a quadrant 2 win, most likely.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to break this down real quick for you, Joe, and then you tell me what you think. I know it's early for this, but this is going to make it a little bit more exciting, I think, for SU fans, because I feel like we're kind of a bubble team. This is a more transparent way of looking at the NCAA's thinking and how we can, actually see what they're actually looking at now and having it right in front of you. So, and it's easy to compare your team versus another team too. Quadrant 1, home RPIs is 1-30, neutral is 1-50, away is 1-75. Quadrant 2, home is RPIs 31-75, neutral is 51-100, away is 76-135, and so on and so on. You can see the breakdown at CuseNationShow.com, or just Google it. It's on Syracuse.com. I kind of just blogged off of their page. Joe, how do you feel about this?
No, I mean, I like it. Coaches have been forever, looking for some type of criteria or some type of process or something transparent that they can go off of so that they can compare their teams, or so that they know what they have to do. And I think right now, this right here, I mean, this year with this starting, I think it's going to change the way the bubble teams get looked at, and then hopefully change the teams that actually get invited to this tournament, and then that can show some transparency as to whether or not, as far as what teams need to do to get in. And a lot of this comes down to mid-major teams, teams like
Buffalo.
Buffalo, Boise State, out west, some Mountain West teams, Wyoming, Nevada. There's some good teams out there that sometimes get snubbed if they happen to not win their conference tournament. And this type of thing right here, pretty much, I mean, it's breaking down and it's giving you points, and it's showing you, how good of a game as far as win or loss it's going to be. Is it a bad loss? Is it a bad or a good win? And it's really easy to, like you said, break it down. You can go through the RPIs of the teams that you played, and you can, look at the result and see where they played, and you can actually break down the records of each quadrant. And like we were looking at it before, quadrant 3 and 4, we're undefeated. So right now
we don't have bad wins.
We don't have a bad loss.
Right.
Yeah. So it's easy to break that stuff down. So when you can compare it, I don't know if you plan on possibly wanting to post this at the Facebook page or whatever, but in one of the articles I read, they had a little team sheet description. It's actually a setup with a key and everything of how teams are going to get looked at. And it's basically their resume, and it's just a technical way to look at it. And this is going really in deep sports nerd stuff, so I'm not going to touch that. But
it is. It's confusing to look at until you realize what you're looking at.
Exactly, and I think it's going to take going through and actually getting down to March and seeing the way that some of these so-called experts on the TV look at it.
Exactly. But, the thing is that's great about it, Joe, is you don't need to be a freaking expert anymore. You don't have to be an expert anymore. The only thing that's fishy about it, and it's not even fishy, is that it's mainly going off of RPI. Now RPI isn't a perfect formula, but it does the best it can, I think, basically ranking teams by their wins and losses and strength of schedule. There's no real scientific formula for it. If there was, I think we'd have it by now. So RPI isn't a pure formula, but taking that into consideration, I think it's pretty fair. If anybody can screw it up, though, it's the NCAA. But this will let you see exactly what they're seeing, and you can tell where you need to be at. I think it's a level playing field for everybody, which is important. You feel sometimes like you get, snubbed. What was it, Monmouth in that NCAA article?
Yep.
They were out in 2016. If you look at this breakdown, they would have actually been in.
Yeah.
So you've got to wonder how many teams, fell into that category where they actually didn't make it, but should have if they would have used this new criteria. It's interesting.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not going to go crazy and keep track of like other teams and looking at when we get closer and stuff like that. Joe Lunardi's still going to do his bracketology, and I haven't heard too much talk actually by the experts on TV yet talking about the quadrant stuff. And so it's kind of, I'm just going to go along. I'm going to keep track of Syracuse, and I'm sure Syracuse.com and some other writers for the team are going to, write some stories like they did a week ago or a couple of days ago or whatever. But just keep a track of it. And, the whole thing with the NCAA with this now is now they can't drop the ball because
no, they can't
because what happened, like you said, just are they going to come out and say, well, this is just one part of it? And why are you doing this? If you're going to do this and make this whole thing, then, you better go by it. So
I give them credit is probably the only time I've given them credit
for doing this. But at the same time, if this ends up coming out to where this really doesn't mean anything and the same teams are getting snubbed, and
then we'll have a problem. Then we'll have something to say about it.
So right. So now, putting this into place is, putting the NCAA. Now it's going to be, people are going to be going by this. There's going to be teams that are going to be going by this, mid-major teams and other people looking at this. And at the end of the day, like you said, it's not a perfect, RPI is not perfect. The system's not perfect. It's never going to be. And no matter what, there's always going to be people thinking that they got snubbed or complaining. It doesn't matter if you have 32 teams in a tournament, 64, 68, as far as, NCAA football, if they want to expand it to 8, it doesn't matter because then, the next team out is always going to complain about it. So
you can use this formula for football. That's the beauty of it. And they might want to look into that, in my opinion. So, one more thing. What was I going to say? Oh, there is real-time RPI. So you can Google your team's RPI or whatever, or any team's RPI. They'll show you real time. So up to the minute, so after the game is played, you can look at someone's RPI almost instantly. So you Google the RPI, if you've got a quadrant breakdown, you can just look and see where we're at. Right now, like Joe said, we're undefeated in 3 and 4. Quadrant 3 and 4. So we have 0 bad losses. Now, maybe a quadrant 2 loss down the road could become a bad loss, but we'll have to just wait and see. The thing about it
that's what's interesting is it's always moving.
Right, exactly.
So
exactly.
It's not what it is today, it might not be tomorrow. So
exactly.
You can keep track of it, you can try to follow it. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to just once we get to the conference tournaments, it's going to probably be talked about a little bit more, and that's when there's a little bit less movement because there's less games and people start getting eliminated. It's going to be interesting to see.
It will be interesting to see. But as with the lifetime RPI, I will bet you that it's only a matter of time before someone comes out with, a lifetime, your team's where your team ranks in the quadrant. You don't even have to figure it out. You just go to a website and look.
I'm sure.
It's only a matter of time before that happens. So,
right.
All right, there's your quadrant breakdown. I love it. I think it's great. We're going to see how it works out this year, and it's going to be exciting for Syracuse fans. And that's all we got to say about that.